Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome back co-founder of LAFS and TRIBU, Samantha Tams.
Hola. Good morning, everyone. Please take your seats. Thank you for coming this morning. We understand that the rain was complicated, so we do appreciate your time. Today, I am here to present a very special person for LAFS and someone who I believe will play a very important role broadening a region. When I first met Alexandre Birman last December here in Miami for Art Basel, I left with a couple of key reflections that stuck with me. First was a comment that Alexandre made on how usually the Latin American community, we tend not to include Brazil sometimes, as much as we should. And it got me thinking, what is it? Is it the language? Is it geography? And I did my homework, and it turned out that in our past events, Brazil was not one of the top attending countries at all. Yet Brazil is a key player in the fashion industry. I also believe that in order to successfully showcase Latin America, Brazil has to play a very important role. I am convinced that making strategic alliances and including Brazil in our LAFS stores will be essential further. This is why I'm so grateful to have him here today. Before I go, there is one last thing. When I had my conversation with Alexandre Birman that day, I promised him that the next time I saw him, I would speak Portuguese. Although I am not there yet, and I will do my best not to embarrass myself, here it goes. E com grande prazer que apresento Alexandre Birman, pai, marido, triatleta e líder inspirador. Bora pra cima e rumo 2154.
Woohoo! Amazing.
It is in my blood, in my DNA. It's so natural. I just cannot think about my life without my real passion, women's shoes.
The boy who made shoes is a modern fashion tale. People used to say his baby crib was a shoebox.
At the age of 5, I learned my first lesson, how to mount a shoebox. At the age of 12, I had my real first task, make a shoe with my hands. Starting with the cutting process and then stitching, then starting the mounting process with the last, the insole, the upper, attaching the sole to the shoe, and most important, having the heel well fixed. At the age of 18, I founded my first brand, Schutz. At the age of 31, I founded Alexandre Birman, making my design dream come true.
Destiny, luck, or hard work?
A blend of all them together, spiced with a lot of passion.
And we keep taking steps towards our dream.
Now that you got to know a little bit more about me, about my history, my background as a shoemaker, a shoe designer, I'll share with you another hat that I wear as a CEO.
Buenos dias. Good morning. E bom dia em português. Brazil has to be included as it is a Latin American country. It's a honor to be here this morning. And by the way, those two boys in the video, they are not me. They were hired. They tell me that they look like me when I was a kid, but they're not me. You're going to see a picture when I was 5. It's a honor to be participating in the 4th Latin American Fashion Summit. Thank you, Samantha. It was a honor meeting you in December. We did a very nice event together in Bal Harbor, and you made the invitation, and here I am. That's my third international trip in 3 weeks. I was in New York, then I was in Europe, then Brazil, back to Miami. But it's a pleasure to be here. And I've already met a few of the clients that we have here. The Alexandre Birman brand has a big audience in the Latin American community. And before I start my presentation, I would like to make an invitation. I'll make a reminder in the end of the presentation, but for you already to prepare. I saw a few of you wearing Alexandre Birman, and I was so happy, so honored, that I decided to invite you to make a special photo with me in a beautiful scenario here that we have with Andres, a nice photographer, and you get a new Clarita as a gift, okay? So please, join me afterwards. Getting started here with the, where should I point? One second. Where should I direct here the pointer? Just tell me where should I point? Yes. Yes. Always like that to test how prepared we are. So my first slide is a way to celebrate, because celebration is part of the path we fight so hard, and celebration comes with a big thank you to our team for delivering the best year in our lives. So this article came out yesterday, and I invite you to take a look on it. It's on Biz of Fashion, and we grew dramatically in the fourth quarter of the year due to our team. So I have a lot of the teammates here in the audience. Thank you very much. A big applause to our Arezzo&Co team for delivering such a great result. So Arezzo&Co consists in a platform of brands. Our business is about people and about brands. And we have a very unique structure where each brand is treated completely individually as an independent business unit. So you go to the mall, there are malls where we have all the stores in the same mall, and any of the customers know that the brands belong to the same company. So it's a vertical structure that you have the head of the brand, you have the creative designer, the marketing, the merchandising, the salesperson, so that you can embrace and feel. So in a vertical structure, you are the owner of the brand and consequently of its results. A little summary. Further on, I'll dig deeper to explain the DNA of each brand and how they were built. So those are our main brands. A quick snapshot about us. We're the leading footwear, and hopefully we'll be the leading apparel company in Brazil. We sold about 20 million pairs last year. We are a vertical model from design to supply to e-commerce. So we have one of the biggest sample factories for shoes in the world. There is about 800 shoe technicians. We make 60,000 pairs of samples per year. We outsource the majority of the production, but we give the software of each shoe. What is the software of a shoe? Are the components, is the last, is the heel, is the prototype. So we can really coordinate the cost. And a different thing that we have is that when we design a product, we already think about the retail price. And we never think about the cost. And when we approach a supplier, we talk about the retail price, and it's a fixed markup. So we don't have price issue. We don't negotiate with suppliers. Oh, give me 10% discount. I'll buy you 10,000 more pairs. No. It's all based on the correct price with the fixed margin to everyone in the supply chain. And this picture is not a browsed picture that was found on the internet. This picture really, to be honest, makes me a lot of memories because that's the house I was born. That's my grandfather's house. And in that little garage is where my father, at the age of 18 years, decided to start making shoes. He was a salesperson by nature. You know those kids that want to sell everything? He was a salesperson. First thing, he was selling eggs from the grandmama's chicken. And at the age of 15, he decided to go to Rio de Janeiro. We are from Belo Horizonte, for who of you who knows Brazil. Belo Horizonte is in the center of Brazil. And he was going to Rio to buy fashionable products to sell to his friends. And one of the products that he was selling were shoes. So he asked himself, why instead of buying in a store to resell to my friends, what if I produce the shoes? Brilliant idea. He approached my grandfather that was so proud that his son was to become an engineer, that said, no, I don't like the idea because you're going to be an engineer like myself. And then he told my grandfather, Daddy, I want a better life than that, so let me try. Okay, use the garage. So that's how we started making our first shoes. Arezzo, as many of you might know, is the name of a city in Italy. And after hiring the best marketing firm and after a research with 1,000 clients, just joking, he just took the map of Italy and said, Italy is known for high quality shoes. I'm going to name my label because I don't like my name. His name is Anderson. I'm going to name as an Italian city. So he liked Arezzo, and that's how we started. And a few years later, we're talking about 1976. I'm turning 46 this year. I was born in that environment. The factory was still very small. My mother, all my family were working at the factory. So I had no choice of using the factory as my playground. There is a little joke that says that my baby crib was a shoebox. That's just a joke. But my first steps were literally taken inside the factory. And I think that based on that, I never asked myself what I want to do when I grow up. When I make speeches for trainees or for interns, I tell them that there are some feelings in life that you only know if you experience them, like getting married or being a father. One of those might be taking a job decision, taking a career decision. And it's tough, and I don't know how is this feeling, because I never had this doubt in my life. Since that age, my determination was to be in the fashion business, to have a shoe company, and faithfully up to now things are growing. So from that factory you just saw, only in 10 years, that was our factory. So my father is a real hard worker, a real visionary entrepreneur. He was able to go from that ordinary garage factory to this factory in 10 years, and we start to grow. So Arezzo was very verticalized. Since we are from Belo Horizonte, very far away from the production cluster, which is located in the south of Brazil, in the region of the Vale dos Sinos, in the state of Rio Grande do Sul, we had to import all the gaúchos and all the labor and all the materials to Belo Horizonte. So the factory was very verticalized, which gave us a very good speed to market and know-how of the full process of how to produce a shoe, from the last to the heel. So that's a big asset that we carry today. But my father was not happy. After 20 years, making faithfully a good amount of money, he said, if I keep just manufacturing shoes, it's already 20 years, where this will take me? I don't know my customer, never hosted someone in my store, I don't deliver a full coherent message, so I'm going to open a store. So this is our first store that is still in the same location in the neighborhood of Jardins in São Paulo. So that's the first Arezzo store. Today, we are only the Arezzo brand, 450 stores. And then, at the same time, a little bit later, this is from 1995, Alexandre Birman was already 18 years old, and like his daddy, I decided, I'm gonna have my own brand. You had when you were 18, why not me? And said, okay, give you a help what you want. I was a mountain biker, I loved outdoor sports, so I had the idea to create a brand that could be a mixture of fashion and outdoor. So I created Schutz. Schutz today has nothing to do with outdoor. It's extremely high platform, very sexy shoes. But that's how I started. And 12 years later, I was able to grow from zero to have a decent business. We're talking about revenues of $40 million back in 2007. My father invited me to merge with him. So it was a merge of a father and a son. And right after that, we sold. It was the first, one of the important decisions we made was to attract capital and to have an investor in our company. There's a very tough decision. You have to make real good choice. Most of the time, there is not a good end. It's a great beginning, but not a great end. In our case, it was different. It was a real win-win relationship with a multi-equity fund that invested and bought 25% of the new co that was so-called Arezzo&Co by the merge of Schutz and Arezzo. At that time, our company valuation was at 300 million reais. Now it's 9 billion reais, about 14 years later. So it really paid off. The fund made its job, helped us to implement governance, helped us to implement a super well budget control company, and to define a real strategy. With a 5-year business plan in our hand, we're able to go, work a lot, launch new brands. Our aim, our dream was to become the category killer of shoes and handbags for Brazil. At that time, we were among the top 10 companies. Today, we are the leading company, and the other 9 together do not make our revenue. We have 38% of the women's footwear and handbag business in Brazil. So we launched Ana Capri. Ana Capri goes for the more middle market, only sells flats in a very interesting price, super affordable, super fun. And in the other end, I made my dream come true to launch Alexandre Birman as an international design label. And this picture is very emblematic. I have to say that the 2 blonde, beautiful girls are no longer in the family. My ex-wife, my father's ex-wife, but that's fine. But the most important is still alive, who is my grandmother. So that's my grandmom, and that's the day that we really rings the bell at the stock market in Bovespa. So that's a moment that we will never forget. 1 year later, my father decided to, I had been to Harvard in 2010 when I brought the idea of the IPO. I got to know a very nice professor of family business called John Davis. I came back to Brazil, we did the IPO, and I told my father that I thought it was time for me to become the CEO. We hired John Davis, and 1 year later, at the age of 35, I turned to the company CEO hat with the full direction and mentorship of my father. So this was a very important step. This is actually a presentation that Mr. Davis makes at MIT and Harvard, talking about the different type of successors. So he called myself as an entrepreneur successor because instead of just working with my father, I was able to leave the family business to create my own business and to merge in the future, creating a bigger company. We have 5 pillars that helps our company runs in a daily basis. Those are our sustainable pillars. If someone asks me, what matters in Arezzo&Co, those 5 pillars explain it. So, number 1 is product development. We are fascinated, we are totally passionate for product. product is number one. We know that in any fashion company, if you have a product that is attractive, that makes a difference, you make a business. So number one is product. But then, of course, supply chain. We have a very flexible supply chain. We produce, like I mentioned, 12,000 new SKUs per year in a lead time of 40 days between design to supply in the stores. So we really control the supply chain. Communication and marketing. We are super digital. For you to have an idea, Schutz was the first brand in Brazil to have an Instagram account back in 2009. We are very broad, using high-end celebrities to make guerrilla marketing on a daily basis. Distribution. We really believe in multi-channel. It's very important for you to have DTC for sure, e-commerce, definitely physical stores, but wholesale is very important. So to mix all the channels together and to make them live in an omni environment without conflict of pricing, having a very aligned strategy of launching the product at the same time is very important. And last but not least, to be honest, the most important pillar of everything, which really holds the company, is our management. So since 2007, we have a very aggressive incentive plan. So we announce every quarter the results to all the employees of the company. And this year of 2021, we paid the highest percentage of our EBITDA in terms of short-term bonus. 10% of the company's EBITDA was distributed among our employees. We have a very structured long-term incentive plan in terms of stock options, granted shares. So to have the alignment and the vision of the team is very important. I have 9 direct reports that together they are with me in an average of 12 years. So making a strong team is very important. Of course, that infrastructure, I really believe that the company has to have assets. You have to be, of course, very focused on return on the invested capital, but we have a philosophy that we only do things great. So we're extremely organized in our facilities. We like to have everything extremely well done. So this is a picture of our product development center, like I mentioned to you. It's 25,000 square feet. Every single brand has its own sample factory, and we have the top machines. We travel a lot to the top supplier shows to understand what is the new, and we invest a lot in production and technology. This is our technology hub. We have a team of 250 developers. We run SAP, which is a very hard system from Germany since 2014. We have our own e-commerce platform that we operate from the design to logistics, everything in-house. So this place was an idea I had after doing a very nice course in Singularity University in California in 2018. And from there, we started to really invest more. We went from 2% of our revenue invested in IT to 4% in less than 5 years. And of course, marketing. As I mentioned, we are very aggressive. We invest about 10% of our company's revenue in marketing. So this is just one example. Of course, everyone knows her, Gisele Bündchen. She has been a great ambassador of Arezzo brand for a long time. And in all the brands, we have our own structure and have investments on marketing. The international dream started to become true in 2012. Until that year, we had 100% of our sales only in the domestic market. We started by opening one flagship store for Schutz brand in Madison Avenue, which we're very proud to say that after 10 years, I think that we are the only survival of the block in front of the legacy Barney's flagship store, which we love the brand, by the way. And we have started from there to have a business that today represents 12% of the total revenue of the company. We have not just the 5 stores, but over 300 wholesale accounts in terms of doors in US, and a huge e-commerce business. Investing in marketing and relationship and networking is extremely important. So for who wants to be a designer, to have the blessing of Anna Wintour helps a lot, open a lot of doors. Some of our presence in the Met. And Alexandre Birman brand has the role to kind of embrace all the Arezzo&Co company, because in Brazil, it's very associated, the Alexandre Birman brand with Arezzo&Co. So it helps to bring value to Arezzo, to Anacapri, to Schutz, to all the other brands. So besides being a great business, it's also important to sustain the brand aspect of all the other brands. A little bit about our numbers, as I mentioned, the consolidated revenue of last year, 3.6 billion reais. We have over 5,000 people. Our EBITDA was around 459 million reais. 11% of the business being done here in the United States. We only focus in the United States. We're starting now our plan to go to Europe. So we increased a lot since the IPO, like I mentioned. We just did a follow-on offering in January. We raised a nice capital to keep our acquisition path. A little bit about the brands. So for those of you who do know Arezzo, it's a 50-year-old brand, very trendy, very updated, but super affordable. As you can see the price point, Arezzo is our #1 brand, corresponds to approximately 28% of our company's revenue. Schutz, on the other hand, is much more fashion forward, much more aggressive. Schutz now in April is launching its first ready-to-wear line. So it's going to be the first Brazilian brand that will go from shoes to a full look. It's a challenge. It's very challenging. We're investing for 1 year. We hired a specific team of 20 people. Those pictures are already from the new campaign. Anacapri, as I mentioned, is extremely fun, affordable. This sneaker, for you to have an idea, costs $39, super high quality. So this is our brand that really distributes more in terms of volume. And Alexandre Birman, as I assume most of you know, our luxury business that corresponds to 4% of the company's revenue. In 2019 was a very important moment for us. We made a deep strategic plan with Bain Company. And when we realized that we already had over 32% of market share, and the business, of course, always can improve, always you can do things better, but we assumed that we had a really well-structured business, was hard to keep growing in a strong pace. We decided to move from shoes and handbags and go into apparel. But instead of creating a brand or buying a brand, we decided to go to the licensed business. So we approached the VF here from US, and we got into a very nice agreement to represent and distribute Vans brand in Brazil. So it was our first inorganic move since the foundation of the company. It was important to prove ourselves in terms of our operational capacity, in terms of systems, logistics, distribution. And a few months later, we reached the wall of COVID, but everything was super well structured and Vans grew a lot. So we more than doubled the size of Vans in Brazil since its beginning. And then during COVID, we were extremely ahead of the game in terms of Omni. We had created our database system that could allow our sales associates to get in touch directly with the customers without them having to go into the store. I don't know if you know that WhatsApp is extremely popular in Brazil. We use WhatsApp to everything. You are in the bedroom, your wife is in the living room, you send a WhatsApp message in Brazil. That's how we use WhatsApp. So when the stores were closed, we knew that we had to survive. We knew that we had to cross that bridge because our mantra, as was told, is towards 2154. That's the year that my father will turn 200 years old. And he said that's going to be a little bit hard for him to be around, but the company will have to be here. So we raised our sleeves and we went for the fight. And the idea was very simple. To take the database and having the sales associates at home, allowing them to connect with the customers and sell using our e-commerce inventory. In less than 30 days, we went from 0 sales to 30% of 2019. And in 2 months, we were already in 70% of 2019. We didn't fire anyone. We didn't close any store. And we passed it through COVID very smoothly. And then we said, Vans is working fine. We proved ourselves to bring a third-party brand to our platform. Now it's time to do a real acquisition. And then this gentleman in the picture, who today is my brother in life, is the founder of Reserva. Reserva maybe is not a brand that you know because it's a men's brand, apparel brand, and it's very focused in Brazil, but it's unique. It has a very nice view in terms of ESG. It's very digital, has an iconic symbol, which is this red bird, and in Brazil is a synonym of really, really fashion. So Reserva grew a lot in our hands. We doubled the size of the company in less than 1 year, and is extremely young, vibrating. Reserva has 150 stores, and is a brand that we're starting to think how to bring here to US. And then to finish 2021 with Gold Key was our dream to penetrate in the women's apparel business. We decided for men's because it has less of the fashion risk, a lot of knit, a lot of t-shirts and basic denim wear, much easier supply. We know that to penetrate in the women's closet, although we have a nice space in their shoe department, is a different game. And we made a very strong research in the market, and we decided to acquire this lady, not her, but her brand. Her name is Carol Bassi. She was here with me. Samantha got to know her in December. Carol Bassi is a unique story. It has only one store that does $10 million per year with 80% gross margin. So she's a digital native brand. She opened the store only 3 years ago. It's very modern, very fluid, very feminine. So that's a little bit of the looks of the last evening collection that Carol Bassi launched. We really believe a lot. We're not going to open too many stores. We know it's a very niched brand. So we know that we only will open between 12 to 15 stores in Brazil, but we're going to invest a lot in the diversification of the product category. We just launched the shoe line for Carol Bassi, and it's already representing 10% of the sales. And then, last but not least, we realized that sustainability is extremely important for everyone. And what we really could do besides verifying and testifying the origin of our materials, besides making the deepest diligence with our suppliers in terms of how the label is treated, to be according with all the rules, to stop using skin, like snake skin like we did for Alexandre Birman. Besides that, what else could you do? And we thought, second-hand business, circular economy, that's the name of the game. The biggest inventory of shoes and apparel in the world are in the women's closet. And they use less than 10% of their clothes, no more than that. And they store 90%. So how to connect and make a very nice second-hand business. So we met Luana. She just had exit Harvard. She was starting a second-hand e-commerce business called Troc. And we acquired it in order to grow. It's a brand new business. It's still very small, but has a very nice positioning. We just entered into handbags. It was just apparel. It has only the e-commerce, but extremely well curated. It's not peer-to-peer. We host all the product. We make all the cleaning, all the repacking, and the customer has experience when she receives in her house like a brand new product. So we believe a lot in the second-hand business. I have 2 slides to finish before we open for Q&A. And this slide, I would say that was one of the most important lessons I learned with my father. He always says that behind one great brand, you have to have one great product. That the bridge, the tipping point of a brand is when you create the icon product. It's not just a great seller, it's an icon. It's a product that you will have the same product after 20, 30 years in your brand. That you become recognizable. When people see the product and say, that's the product from that brand, is when you can say, I have a brand. So to create that product, there's not a formula. You can go to Harvard, you can hire McKinsey, they will not teach you. That's based on gut feeling of the founder, of knowing the customer, of testing, of feeling, of correcting, but really have this focus as your main focus. So here I brought the examples of our 4 main brands, the shoe brands, and the hero products behind. And it takes time, so don't panic. It can take 5, it can take 8, it can take 10 years, but you really know the difference when you find that product, and then the business kind of flows, moves on naturally. So in Arezzo, we became, that I didn't say, as men's shoes, because my father was making shoes for his friends. It was a disaster. My father says that the shoes, they were whole to put the feet, of so bad done they were. Before closing Arezzo, we said, hippie movement, wedge, espadrille, and made this beautiful wedge espadrille. We still sell this shoe until today. This shoe was designed in 1975. Shoots, the same thing. I started with outdoor, very more like Timberland. And then I had the idea, why not add a platform to attract your soul and make a feminine heel combat boot? Boom. We still sell this shoe until today. Anna Capri was a lot later, so we knew the formula. So it was faster. We decided to do a very affordable, comfortable ballerina that we would sell in 20 colors and never out of stock. And if you buy 3, you get 30% discount, so it was faster. And then 1 year only to find the product. And then Alexandre Birman was a little bit harder. So to really have an icon product that will sustain your brand, and you can build a brand on top of that, took us a lot of time. The idea was to make a shoe without any buckle, to make a shoe that you could wear from night to day. And then the Clarita style came. We have it in different heel shapes and heel heights, and that's the signature of the brand. So to have a great brand, find an icon product, and that will take time and will not be easy. My last slide, if I could leave with a few words to all of you, dream big, because it takes the same effort to dream small. So dream big, be ambitious. Ambitious is a good thing. Work hard, but really hard. Do your best every day, and take risks. You have to take risks. Hire the best. A company without the best team will not succeed. Here I have a great, I have 10 people. Please raise up an applause to Arezzo&Co team. Stand up here. Everybody that is Arezzo&Co, please. And never give up. You're going to have a lot of excuses to give up. A lot. Every day you find a reason to give up. It's going to be the product didn't sell, the supplier didn't deliver. It's going to be the client that didn't pay the bill. It's going to be the COVID. It's going to be the Russian war. It's going to be the second, the third wave of COVID. It's going to be everything. Never give up. If you never give up, you're going to make a very nice story. And we're just starting ours. Thank you very much for your time. Hope that I could have contributed with you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. Goosebumps. Have goosebumps. Thank you very much. Thank you so much, Samantha. Go open 10 minutes for Q&A. We find here a good seat. Thanks for everyone. Very emotional. That will be in my mind forever. Thank you.
Hi.
Hello.
Hi, my name is Maria Conchita Alcalá, and I met you the day you opened the store in New York. And I was impacted by your passion. I was there with you and Ami's song. And the way that you were treating everybody, like the way that you made your team stand up. I think that everybody in this room needs to learn from that, because that passion you translated to everybody. You made me want to go out and buy a new pair of shoes because I need to own your shoes. However, how do you feel having the Alexandre Birman luxury brand? Who goes first? The design that you make for shoots, or do you start at Alexandre Birman and then that aspirational trickles down to shoots? What woman goes first? Who leads the conversation?
Perfect. Thank you very much for your sentence. Thank you for reminding me about the opening of Madison. Was for me one of the biggest conquests I had at that time. And it's a great question you made. It's a great question. And what we do, as I mentioned, we separate the brands as totally independent business units. And they have their own team. And there is kind of a Chinese wall among them. Of course, they sneak peek sometimes, but the role is to be independent. Alexandre Birman is truly aspirational. Alexandre Birman is not on the fast fashion cycle. It develops few styles per year, only 4 collections, and we develop on top of the great sellers, okay? Of course that we are not just doing classic styles. For instance, we just launched platforms. I'm sure that all the women, if they didn't buy, they're gonna buy a platform. That's the shoe of the moment, is a high heel platform. We have that for Alexandre Birman, but in a different way from shoots. Yesterday, I was with the team at Bal Harbor in Alexandre Birman store. There was a customer buying a platform. Then we went to shoots in Aventura. You have platforms in both, very chunky platforms, but they look totally different from each other. But of course that Alexandre Birman is always ahead of the game. So we had platforms like one season before, and that serves as inspiration to all of our brands. Thank you for the question. Thank you.
Hi, Alexandre. Tudo bem?
Ah, que bom, brasileiro. Vamos falar português agora, sorry.
I'm a fellow Brazilian. I own an independent retailer in Washington, D.C., and we invest in 50 small brands from Latin America.
Let me get closer here because
Okay. I own an independent retailer in Washington, D.C., and we invest in 50 small brands from Latin America. And I have to say...
50?
50.
Wow.
Even as a Brazilian, I have a hard time attracting or working with Brazilian brands. We actually have more success with Colombians and Mexicans. I feel like they're a
We
little
have
bit
17
readier.
brands. Now we can go to 67 brands, please.
So the question is, why are Brazilian brands, not huge brands like yours, but the smaller ones, so timid to get into this market? And a common mistake that I see is that when they come, they try to position, everybody tries to position in the luxury
Too top.
category, and then they fail before they even get here because they're not well known, the quality may not be there. So what kind of advice can you give to smaller, slow fashion brands from Brazil to get into the market easier and in a better positioning so that they can reach wholesalers right away?
It's an amazing question. What's your name again?
Carolina.
Carolina.
Furucana.
Carol. Can I choose Carol?
Carol.
So
De
where are
São
you from
Paulo.
in Brazil? São Paulo?
São Paulo, mas
Great.
eu moro aqui há 20 anos.
20 years.
Yeah.
You made a great point. And I think that what we spoke is true. Brazil, for somehow, doesn't feel part of the Latin American community, especially in the United States. And that's a little bit challenging. When you say Hispanic, in the US is about 20% of the population. Spanish speakers here in Florida must be 70% of the population, but Portuguese is few. So I think that the Brazilians, first, we have a huge market in Brazil. Unlike most of the other countries besides Mexico, it's a huge local market. So maybe the brands get a little bit lazy because they can do great business in Brazil. If you are from Nicaragua, from Venezuela, you have no chance otherwise trying to make in America. Of course, Colombia, Bolivia, they're big markets too, but Brazil is much bigger. I think the language, as I mentioned, makes a difference. And you are correct. I think most of the brands, they try to position too high. And they could come more digitally, in a more simple way. And why not try, Fernando, to create a hub here in Miami? Fernando is our CEO. He lives in New York. He every time comes to Miami and says, please let me move to Miami. But maybe why not create a hub for the Brazilian brands here in Brazil? So thank you, Carol. It's a great point. Let's try to work on that, okay?
Hello. Hi, Alexander. Thank you so
Can you speak a little bit louder because there's a fan here that...
Hi, do you hear me?
Yes.
Thank you so much for being here. It's such an honor. I have a footwear brand, a small brand, and I produce in Brazil as well. And I wanted to ask you, from a brand that is not vertically integrated as you are, what advice can you give to have full control of our supply chain?
Perfect. So which category are you?
I have footwear, mainly flats, leather made, and we produce in Porto Alegre.
So the first recommendation is to do a partnership with me, okay? Then I'm
I'll be
gonna
happy
solve all of your problems. So congratulations for being a founder,
Thank you.
entrepreneur, and I think that you have to have one. If our deal doesn't move on, I have my strategic team. They all came from Austin. They were at South by Southwest. They're full of ideas here to share with us. But you have to have your own modelista. If you have a modelista, it's not a designer. Modelista is the technical person that will develop your own lasts. You have to go to the spine of a shoe is the last. So you have to create your own last, and you have to invest in the molds of the sole. So if you have your own last, your molds, and one modelista, that you said you only do flats, that you do not change your constructions too much. You can be clever by changing only the sole, changing the insole, making new uppers, using different materials, but the variation of too many lasts in constructions make it a problem. So to be identifiable, focus to create your own last, your own sole, and to variate within the same structure. That would be my recommendation.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good question. Thank you. Is that microphone there? The lady in pink.
Hi, my name is Daniela Freddy. Congratulations on
Thank
your
you.
brand. I have the opposite question of Carolina. I'm from neighbor Argentina, but live in New York for the past 30 years, and I'm co-founder of a swimwear brand. And we love Brazil. We know that a lot of people in Brazil are passionate about beach lifestyle, and it's impossible for us to sell there. So what's your vision on that, on how to tap into the Brazilian market? And do you see the same sort of, I don't want to call it protectionist, but that strategy of protecting your own brands, which is great, but will that continue? How do you see, for brands like ours, the opportunity to penetrate the Brazilian market?
Great. Yes, Brazil is an amazing market. The women, they love fashion. They buy a lot. Is one of the highest shoe per capita consumption in the world, and it's a very tough market. So in Brazil, there is VAT. I don't know if you know what's VAT. So value added tax. This makes a confusion in the production value chain. So most of the foreign companies that go to Brazil, they try to find a local partner, because to operate in Brazil is very hard. If you want to be niched, there's a few very nice multi-brand stores. Okay, there are two that are the best. One is called CJ Mares. They sell Zimmermann. They sell a lot of cool brands. It's located in a mall called Cidade Jardim. And there's another called NK Store that sells Chloe, sells Atico, all the top brands. So to sell in those stores is not hard. The owners, two ladies, they're very hands-on. They're the buyers. So to focus in those 2 flagship stores would be my direction, and also Farfetch. Farfetch is super well known in Brazil, so necessarily if you're a niche fashion business, you don't have to have your local operation in Brazil. If you have a connection and you can do your plug model with Farfetch, you can do the marketing, the digital marketing for the brand to be known in Brazil, but Brazilians, they buy a lot in Farfetch, and you can export the goods from here to there without having to have the local structure.
Even with Farfetch, you have to kind of
Excuse me?
Even with Farfetch, it seems that you have to enter your merchandise yourself, you know, and warehouse before you can sell it. So it's tricky, but I hear you. I mean, maybe a multi-brand.
Yeah, it would be one of the 2 ways, but to have your own store in São Paulo or Rio de Janeiro, I think it's super challenging because of the local tax regime. I would recommend to go to multi-brand or to Farfetch, or to maybe create your own e-commerce. There's a lot of cool digital influencers in Brazil, and they're great salespeople.
Hi.
Anyone?
So
You
I
see
wanted
here?
to know what's
Here.
Hey.
My friend from Mexico, the swimwear.
How are you? So I wanted to know what's an error you have made in your career that has made you grow as the man you are right now, and what would you give as an advice to an entrepreneur woman or a man that's like entrepreneuring right now in like their
Can you
business?
speak slowly? So the first
Yeah,
question
sorry.
was one of the mistakes that I made.
Yeah.
Great, there's a lot. And the second?
What's an advice you would give to Alexander like 15 years younger?
If I would give advice to me 50 years
Yeah.
younger. Great. Wow, you're clever, huh? You're a therapist, I think, huh? Not a fashion entrepreneur. I think that I'm going to replace my therapist by you. So there is one thing that happened back in 2003 that in terms of a technical mistake, this was the biggest. And we transformed this mistake into a huge opportunity. So my dream was to sell in America. I started to show in Las Vegas in the year of 2000. I had a small business shoot. It was very, very small. And 2 years later, I got the attention of, at the time, the brand was better. Today it's very, very cheap, but was Aldo. So Aldo, Mr. Aldo Bensadon himself stopped by my little booth, loved my shoes, and placed a 5,000 per order. For me, that was a big order. I came back to Brazil, I produced the shoes, everything was great, they sold out. Then the next order was 10,000, great. Less than 1 year, he came with a 30,000 per order of one single boot. And that would be, I would say, 2 months of production for me at that time. I created a special line, I hired like 100 people, I invested a lot of money at that time in the leather, and I produced the shoes beautifully. A few weeks later, when the shoes hit the stores from Aldo, Mr. Bensadon called me. I was super excited. Oh my God, I'm getting a call from Mr. Bensadon. Must be a reorder. So Alex, I have a big problem to tell you. My secretary was just walking down the stairs and the heel broke. And I asked my team, that's the 10th pair that broke the heel this week. I'm going to return all the shoes to you. I'm going to be bankrupted. Oh my God, I have to find a way. What I'm going to do? I took the plane, went to Canada, negotiate with him, kind of a time to think. Then I hired the best Brazilian technician. I said, I'm going to pay the salary I can't afford to the best industrial director in the market. By the way, he's 70 years old. He's with me until now, almost 20 years later. Said, okay, I can find a way to remove this heel. It had a little air gap. It's a very thin stiletto. And when they made the injection, they left a minimal air bubble in many of the heels. And with the pressure of the weight of the body, it was breaking the heel. Very dangerous. But he had the idea to remove the heel and put a new heel. So I'm going to have to return all the product to Brazil. I'm going to have to make a line only to remove it. And I agreed with Mercedes to return 6 months later the shoes for him for 50% of the price. I said, okay, at least I'll not bankrupt. I did that. We learned a lot how to test the heels before producing. I hired the best technician. And for my lucky, that was lucky. When I had to import the shoes to Brazil, the currency was around, let's put a number here, 2 reais per dollar. When I exported back to him 6 months later, at 50% off, the currency was at 4. So, at the end of the day, I made the same amount of money. So, going back to what I would say to Alexandre, 15 years ago, I was 31 years. I would say that trust more your team, give more freedom to people, and live with mistakes more nicely. That would be what I would say to myself. Thank you. Thank you. Excuse me? Yes, so thank you very much. You have another one?
One last one.
Hey, how are you?
Hi, how are you?
We have two.
My name is Chiara. I'm from Peru. I have a sustainable luxury brand. It's called Escudo. And I'm selling in CJ Mares.
Oh, nice. You see?
Yes, but the problem is that because of the VAT, the prices at CJ Mares are higher than everywhere in the world. So
that's the VAT.
Exactly. So
and
they're
our
higher,
currency is very devalued.
They're higher than in my website and than in Matches or Browns or everywhere else. So how is that a problem or would affect me as a brand or the Brazilian customers would see it as something
We are
that
used to pay 25% more than their international price. If you are in this range, I think Brazilians will understand. And you have to use the distribution there to be more present. So have you ever been to Brazil?
Yes, once, but at the beginning of the brand, almost 9 years ago.
So I think that you should push your name there to do a nice event. The mall is amazing. It's like Ball Harbor. You have beautiful restaurants. So I'm very good friend with the founder of CJ Mares. We are friends for 30 years. So I think you should push to get your brand more known, especially because of your sustainable cause. That makes a big difference today. Yeah. So I think that you should push to have your brand more elevated. And 25% is fair. More than that, I think that is too much. That's what the VAT costs.
Thank you.
Okay? Thank you.
Hi, I have a question. We have one more here.
Where?
Here. Here.
Oh, sorry.
Hi, Alexander. First of all, thank you for being here. It's very important for us, mostly women from Latin America, that you're here. It means a lot. Thank you, Samantha
Thank you very much.
and Stefania, for all that you do. And I just wanted to say that I can see myself in part of your story. I'm a co-founder with my daughter, Paulina.
Congratulations.
Yes. We started when she was 8 years old, and I totally understand and I can resemble when you said behind every brand you have a great product and that you can become recognizable. And our brand has that. It has one product that is our icon brand, but it has been very, very hard to get the eyes of the wholesalers to see us. Obviously, we're a small brand, and we started before the pandemic. And what do you recommend us as entrepreneurs that we have an icon bag, that we have it all to compete with the big brands?
Perfect.
What do you recommend?
So, to penetrate in wholesale with the story you just said, and by the way, congratulations, I would focus in one department store. You have to choose one, okay? Then you make a personal approach. It's not going to be easy, but then you take your call, you make an appointment, you show your line, and you give them exclusivity. So that's very important. At the same time, it would be great if you, although you were small, to try to save some money for a digital influencer that will use the product and make the buyer see that the brand is being used. And the last tentative, I know that's tough to start like this, but sometimes to penetrate is important, is to work on with a return agreement. okay? With some markdown allowance and minimal markup guarantee. So that's tough, but that's part of the game of wholesale here. You have to be prepared for that.
Thank
Okay?
you so much.
Thank you. So, thank you to everyone. It was a great morning. Thank you for your attention, for your time. My pleasure. Just as a reminder, where is Victoria? Victoria and Nora, please come here. And Natalia. So, who is wearing Alexandre Birman today? It's behind the scenes. Samantha already authorized me to do that. Andres Wright is the photographer. He's amazing. There is a beautiful set there. So who wants to take a picture there now will be super welcome, and you get a new Clarita, okay? So just follow those three beautiful ladies here. Your mother-in-law, great. So be the first. So once again, thanks to everyone. It was a honor. I wish a great 2022 that we can overcome all the challenges and overall be happy. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, team.
Hello, everyone. Just a quick announcement to let you know that we will be breaking for 10 minutes and we will come back for the next panel in 10. See you soon. Hello, everyone. Just to quickly let you know that we will have a 10-minute break and we will continue with the next panel. Thank you.